Alright, Econ students, welcome back. Video 2. Now we're going to take what we talked about in the previous video about production possibility curves and opportunity costs and apply it to two societies that may or may not want to trade with each other. So let's say the data we talked about last time with robots and lawnmowers was this town called Vanburg, right? And remember that at the extremes, they could make 100 robots and no lawnmowers, or no robots and 20 lawnmowers. That was the maximums that Vanburg could make if they would just make the most of each. So we had that on our graph. We had 100 and 20. And we said you could only produce at a point on the line if you're being efficient. Inside, inefficient; outside, unattainable. Now let's say next to Vanburg, there's another town. Let's call it Econ City. And in Econ City, they make robots and lawnmowers as well. In Econ City, though, they can make at the most 60 robots and at the most 30 lawnmowers. So we can throw that on our graph as well, 60 and 30, except this time we're talking about Econ City. So there's two concepts that come up here, the concepts of absolute and comparative advantage. Absolute advantage simply means that one society can always make the most of a particular good if it was a race to make that good. So let's say Vanburg, Econ City were racing to make robots, just making robots. Who is always going to win? Well, Vanburg is always going to win because they can make 100, which is bigger than 60. So Vanburg has the absolute advantage in robots. Who has the absolute advantage in lawnmowers? Well, if it's a race just to make lawnmowers, Econ City is going to win that race because 30 is bigger than 20. So we've got the absolute advantage. Now, common mistake is to then assume, well, if you can make the most of something, that means you're the best at it, and that's what you should produce and trade with the other society. That is not always the case. In order to make sure we know who should trade with who, we need to look at comparative advantage, which is the how quickly they can make one of each good, or the cost to make one of each good, going back to our friend opportunity cost. So let's go down to another chart here, and again, for Vanburg and Econ City, let's look at what the opportunity costs are. Now remember, if we're going to do robots, we need to do lawnmowers over robots. So at the most, Vanburg can make 20 lawnmowers divided by 100 robots, so 20 over 100, right? The way to quickly do this is to divide the endpoints of the graph. 20 over 100 simplifies down to 1/5 of a mower for every robot they want to make. What about for making lawnmowers? Well, then it's the inverse. In this case, it's 100 over 20, or 5 robots are given up if Vanburg wants to make one lawnmower. Same is true for Econ City. Let's say Econ City wants to make one robot. Well, they give up 30 over 60, or they give up 1/2 of a mower in order to make one robot. What if they were going to make lawnmowers? How many robots are they giving up? Well, they're giving up 60 over 30, or 2 robots for every lawnmower they make. Now, in this case, now we can find the comparative advantage. The comparative advantage is about who can make the product cheaper. Let's look at robots. In order to make one robot, it costs Vanburg 1/5 of a mower. It costs Econ City 1/2 of a mower. 1/5 is smaller than 1/2, so Vanburg has the comparative advantage in robots. So comparative advantage in robots, which means Vanburg should make robots. Now that coincidentally is the same as the absolute advantage, but doesn't always have to be that way. Now let's look at lawnmowers. In order to make one lawnmower, it costs Vanburg 5 robots. It costs Econ City 2 robots. 2 smaller than 5, so Econ City has the comparative advantage in mowers. So if they both wanted to find a way to produce at points outside of their production possibility curves, they would need to find a trade that works for them, with Vanberg specializing or only making robots, and Econ City specializing and only making lawnmowers. So, for example, let's say Econ City is going to say, I want to trade away one lawnmower. Now, if they had kept that one lawnmower, it would have cost them 2 robots. So if they're going to trade it away, they want to trade away one lawnmower. So 1 mower from Econ. They want more than 2 robots, because they could have made it for 2 robots themselves. Now, Vanberg wants the wants the lawnmower, but they want it for less than 5 robots, right? Because they could have made 1 mower for the 5 robots themselves. So what's somewhere in between 5 and 2? Well, let's say 3 robots from Van. So there we go. We have a trade that works. 1 lawnmower from Econ City for 3 robots from Vanberg. That's a trade that works. That's a trade that, if they were to figure out the amounts that they ultimately wanted to trade, would push them outside of their production possibility curves and grow their society. So this was review video 2. We've now covered all the basics, and in the next video we can get into the meat of the course, supply and demand.